Quick disclaimer, I'm a professional, I am not your professional. Nothing we're about to say should be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for education and amusement. That is it. That's the disclaimer.
How about our exes? Everyone's ex is a narcissist now. That's wild.
Interesting statistic and phenomenon in today's society that, everybody's ex is a narcissist.
I find that hard to believe because I divorced a diagnosed narcissist, and I think that if we had as many narcissists around as people say there are these days, the world would have burned to the ground.
There's a bad joke that floats around the mental health community. It's a really bad joke. But they say if you piss off a borderline, they'll kill themselves. If you piss off a narcissist, they'll kill you.
That's a bad joke, but it's kind of true. I hate to say it. I think it's kind of true.
The level of depravity of a narcissist is such that they would harm another human, is kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah. I don't think that all narcissists would harm another person. And I could definitely do a deep dive on compassion for the narcissist. I do not believe that they are incapable of love. I do believe that they know love.
Some have insight.
Absolutely. They have insight. I think that the one distinguishing factor between dealing with a narcissist or someone who has a cluster B and not is that they don't feel guilt. They don't have a gut feeling of guilt. So it's like the question that one may ask an atheist, how do you know how do you know right from wrong? Well, I feel it. A narcissist, in my experience, does not feel that.
It's interesting that you bring up guilt, because guilt is not an accurate indicator of how something, like how bad something somebody did was.
Interesting.
Like the example of Catholic priests, they feel extreme guilt, and yet some of them did really bad, horrible, awful, no good things.
I see. Now, do you mean guilt or do you mean shame? I think narcissists feel an excess of shame due to their lack of guilt, because you have your personal image there standing in front of everyone, and the narcissist wants to protect that with absolutely everything they have. And if something is to ding that personal image, they feel immense shame. They feel that the projected self, the projected self has been damaged in some way, and they feel immense shame. But shame being very different to me from guilt. Guilt being the deep internal feeling that you have wronged someone and you need to make up for it, or just in general that it is having an effect on your emotional well-being. I do not know of any time I have seen any true narcissist experience guilt, but I've definitely seen them experience shame.
I like your definition of guilt. My definition is Brene Brown's, which says that guilt is I've done bad, and I see that as like I violated my own moral code in some type of way, and shame is I am bad. You see the difference there, like a behavior versus
I do. And I love Brene Brown, and I would never contradict her. I think that fits within my viewpoint of guilt versus shame. I think that guilt is I've done bad. I know I've done bad. I feel that I've done bad. I'm not sure the narcissist gets that feeling, even that line process of thought, because when they make their decisions, their false self is incapable of doing bad. So they're not going to feel shame until someone points out that they have done bad. They maybe get caught having done bad, or reveal it themselves in order to draw the eye or something along those lines. Those things will cause shame, or that may masquerade as guilt. But I'm not sure that ever in their gut, in their heart, they think I have done bad. I am bad is a great fear in the heart of the narcissist. But
the grandiosity really of I can do no wrong, that tracks.
Yeah, that's what I think. But it being such a significant psychological thing to be missing feelings in that fashion, it would be absolutely wild to me to think that like 9 out of 10 of the girls I graduated high school with also divorced a narcissist. Um, and also knowing what occurred during my marriage and during my time. It's not an Olympics, it's not a competition, but it is vastly different. And I think people these days see a vast difference between the immature and the incapable of handling relationships, and maybe those having attachment styles that are more anxious versus more secure versus someone who is avoidant. And everyone has narcissistic behavior, especially when they are younger, especially if they are not versed in how to have a healthy relationship. But it would be wild to think that we would have a bunch of true narcissists, because as you said, they would kill each other. They would kill us. We would be in a Hunger Games battle royale-esque situation in my mind.
Yes, and personality disorders are extremely rare. There's only 11 of them, and there are specific criteria that must be met. I couldn't rattle them off the top of my head right now. But I know,
might be able to after having been in a relationship. Curious things happen when you are in love with or married to or the child of someone with a cluster B. It comes with the free trauma, but also a additional education, because you'll find yourself on Google going, why is this happening and what is wrong with me? How do I not know what is wrong with them? Why am I so upset? How am I so wrong? And almost every search result will return you to your ex is a narcissist, which is where I think this is coming from, because everybody has those questions from time to time in their lives. It's a lot different, in my opinion, having those questions at the implosion of a relationship, or having those questions during what should be the best periods of your relationship. If you're looking at your partner and your partner is happy in your relationship and you are having those questions, you may be with a narcissist. If you're looking at your partner and your partner is unhappy in the relationship and you are also unhappy in the relationship, you may be looking at someone who doesn't like you very much. And someone who doesn't like you very much will treat you in a narcissistic fashion because they don't like you.
right.
You know?
Also, I think there's maybe some confusion between alcoholic addicts' thinking behaviors and confusing that with narcissistic behaviors, because there is overlap for sure. But just like there's overlap between like trauma behaviors and ADHD, that does not make them the same.
True. I have said before, not every alcoholic, or not every narcissist is an alcoholic, but every alcoholic is a narcissist. And I would have not made that statement had I known that the word narcissist was going to be on the tip of everyone's tongue in the 2020s. I should have said, not every narcissist is an alcoholic, but every alcoholic is narcissistic. The disease of addiction is the only one that I'm aware of where the symptoms are experienced by the people that you love. The condition of NPD or narcissism, one of the main defining criteria that I'm aware of is that it affects the people that you love, and they tend to get it the worst and the hardest. Everyone else might think, hey, that's a great guy, depending on the form or type of narcissism that presents.
The alcoholism metaphor I like to go for is the idea of like a tandem bicycle. You know how like maybe 3 or 4 people are in the family, they're all pedaling, and then the alcoholic just stops, and everybody else has to continue pedaling their weight, and that makes it much more difficult. That's why alcoholism is considered a family disease.
Mm-hmm. A family disease is an absolute way to put it, because not only does it affect the family during active addiction, but even if, one is to recover, one is to make that journey and make that step, it is a lifelong wound that is then carried throughout the family. And I don't say that to shame or guilt anyone. I am fully aware that the struggle of addiction is exactly that. It is a struggle. And that is why I think I would like to retract my former statement in life that not, that every alcoholic is a narcissist. I think that every alcoholic is narcissistic. And in that, I see
But the
why the
behavioral though,
spiritual,
like you mean
yeah, I see.
behaviorally?
Mhm. Behaviorally, the way that there's commonalities in the way an addict or an alcoholic will lie, will maybe steal, will pursue using first above all else. There's a reason that NA and AA are as successful as they are as organizations. The reason that 12-step programs are effective is because there are commonalities that there are at least 12 commonalities between all addicts. Because if there were not, we would not have such a massive success rate of people who do recover.
Maybe
So
we could do an episode, not today, but later on
yeah.
12-step recovery programs, because there's AA, there's NA, there's Alateen, there's Al-Anon, there's ACA, there's CODA, there's a lot.
If you are looking for resources on 12-step programs and 12-step recovery programs in an area near you, what do you do? What should you do? There are so many options. How does one compare and contrast?
I would narrow it down to what's most important to you in the moment. So if your focus is healing from, for example, adult children of alcoholics and other dysfunctional families, the only requirement for membership is the desire to recover from the effects of family dysfunction. So if somebody's focus is that, then they might go to adultchildren.org and find a meeting, look at the literature, that kind of thing. Whereas somebody, if they're enmeshed in a relationship and they're struggling with codependent tendencies and they want to go to coda.org, that's CODA.org, they can look into those meetings and see what that's all about. There's also secular versions of all of these programs. So there's,
Mhm.
I think, worldwide secular meetings. If you type that into a search engine, it'll come up with a calendar. And it doesn't just have AA, NA, CODA, it has like a lot.
Right. And though AA and NA acknowledge a higher power within their 12-step program, they are not religious affiliated. So I believe that those would qualify as secular organizations as well. I think that probably because so many people within those organizations choose their higher power to be a typical Christian portrayal, it gets the general impression that they are a Christian organization. However, I have met addicts whose higher power is their mother. I have
I've
met
heard
addicts
people say it's gravity because what goes up
right,
must go down.
hold you to the earth. I think that would be an excellent higher power. No, I have met people coming from both organizations that do not and are not Christian or even of a completely outside faith group from American Protestant, and they have had success within the program. They've become old timers, that kind of thing. So you can definitely check out Narcotics Anonymous online, and also one could look up AA, Alcoholics Anonymous online, and find some help and assistance there. But those are great resources, and we should do a full podcast on that. I think that would be a really good idea. Another one to throw in that is that they have programs available for children and teens.
Alateen,
12-step
yes.
programs, Alateen, yes. And those are things that are available by just searching those terms. Yeah, that would be a good move. So how does one, just to get back on track here, how does I made a little statement on how one might start to get that gut feeling or that gut impression that they are partnered with a narcissist. How do you know if your ex is a narcissist or if you guys we're not right for each other? You're going through a nasty breakup, perhaps.
I would listen to them. Generally, a narcissist will tell you, I'm a narcissist. They will tell you, I'm self absorbed. They will tell you, I am selfish. And we don't hear that all the time when we have rose colored glasses on. And so, if we can hear through the rose colored glasses and actually believe the words that are coming out of their mouth, that can sometimes shatter the illusion that one might have. But yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. I think that, and just to be really frank, I mean, we could listen to them, or if you're at the point in feeling that that person is a narcissist, if you really truly feel that person is a narcissist, if you really truly, you know, you've taken in the TikToks, you've taken in the reels, you've scrolled the memes, you've seen that guy that puts a wig on and pretends to be a baby mama. I love him. And you've come to the conclusion that your ex is a narcissist. Let them go. Let them go as hard as you can. Run as far and as fast as you can. And at that point in time, does it really matter what their label is? You know, I feel there's some danger in pointing out, in perpetuating the idea that narcissist, like you said, it's one of a very small select group of disorders that are rare. Perpetuating the idea that it is a commonality, a commonplace thing to do, kind of takes the weight away from the impact said when someone says they have narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah,
You know, it's a cheapening of the terminology. It's a cheapening of the word. And I find myself wondering if the DSM-5 will be updated again for a new word for narcissist, because this one is
possibly.
becoming something else.
I think this is a good time to explain the thread of therapy because you said like cut and run, right? Well, here's the
Right.
thread of therapy. If A plus B equals C, and one person is A, that's a person going to therapy, their partner is B, and their relationship is C, person A is going to change, which means the value of C, the relationship will change. Now, whether that relationship grows together and closer and mends, or spreads apart and detached and gets apart, that's not something that the therapist or clinician gets to decide, but that is the thread of therapy is when you come to therapy, you might change and that might change your relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the best advice comes from what you just said, which is if you find yourself questioning if your partner or ex-partner is a narcissist, go to therapy. Because that's what I did. If you find yourself wondering if your partner or ex-partner is a narcissist, you need to go to therapy. You need to talk to the therapist about it. And maybe the therapist will say, you know what, they probably are a narcissist, but that's not you. Let's talk about your problems. But no, they're probably no,
They
you'll
might
receive some
validate,
support, you'll
like,
receive some validation.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that the best decision I ever made in my lifetime of dealing with any toxic personality type was to go to therapy and was to allow my self-worth to rise higher than I would allow the continuation of abuse. Yeah, that was a weird way of saying that. I gardened before this too. Okay, I'm just saying, some Acapulco gold.
I
But
think
I'm
this
just
is a
saying, my
great
self
place
worth
to,
rose higher than my toleration of abuse. That's a better way to put it. My self worth rose higher than my toleration of abuse, and that is ultimately peace. After you come to that conclusion, then you realize I was worth more than the scenario that I'm in. I can't be here anymore,
and then you realize
and
you deserve better.
yeah, you deserve better. There's better out there, and also there's always better than bad. That's something I say to my kids. There is always better than bad. I have nothing better to do. I'm bored. Well, don't throw a tantrum. Don't start crying. Don't get a headache, because then you're bad. Then you're feeling bad. You can always do better than bad. You know, you can always make a better choice for yourself than punching a wall when you're angry, because that is bad. There's always one step up from that you could do, and that would be better. Uh, and being able to always do better than bad might bring us full circle to, you know, if you're already feeling bad, if you're already doing bad, you're depressed, go to therapy, because there's always better than bad. If your parents and your relationship is bad, if they're saying, hey, I don't see you enough, don't talk to you enough, I don't know anything about your life, and you're repeating like a broken record, like Katrina said, hey, maybe you need to go to therapy, maybe therapy would help. Check out therapy. There is always better than bad in this relationship. There's always better than bad in this connection between us. And then the final one being, there's always better than bad if you're actually with a narcissist or someone who has narcissistic tendencies. Dump it.
There's your advice for the day. Dump him or her.
Yeah, I should all over everyone because I'm not a professional, but she is. I will should on you all day long.
I should backtrack a little bit and just say that not all shoulds are bad. Like, we should brush our teeth and then we do. So some rules are good to have and to use. But if they're useless shoulds, like, oh, I should have left sooner to avoid this traffic, that's useless, flush it.
Kick it out and do it. That tracks. That makes a lot of sense. All right. I think that is all the time we have today for Therapy Unlocked. Please make sure you check us out on Instagram where we are thera.p unlocked. Check us out on Instagram. Give us a follow. I like to share the stories, laugh with us, comment with us. Coming soon, we will have our YouTube page active so that you can watch us stream live. And
subscribe, comment.
Like, subscribe, comment, download, shoot me a DM, tell me that you like my hair. And I hope that you have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, evening, whenever you're tuning in.
Later.